I was gonna ask before we move on to the next thing. I'm actually really curious. Daraji, you said, and because I really believe in this as well. And this obviously, this none of this is financial advice. We always have to say that. But you said something about the whole idea of if the markets were closed and everything was gone away for like 10 years, would you still want to own those assets? I'll say assets. If you're willing to share, obviously, I'm going to assume Illuvium is one of those assets you'd be happy to hold. If you're willing to share, I'd love to know like 3 assets that you hold that you feel that way about, like strongly about. If you don't want to share, that's completely fine. I can, yeah. If you don't want to share, I can share mine or whatever. But yeah,
no, I'll give you. So I don't. I basically have hit the level of investment that I want in Illuvium. I did add a little bit more in the recent dip into the SLP. But it's not part of my normal DCA. My normal DCA is Ethereum, Solana, and Aave.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, it's mostly low index or low cost index funds and just a handful of other things like Google, Amazon.
Yeah.
Like those are things that I'm fairly confident at this point will be around in 10 years.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure we have almost exactly the same portfolio. Yeah. And Scoriox, do you actually? I don't know if I've asked you this. Do you still hold any like traditional equity, any stocks?
I've held stocks since I was 15.
Jesus,
I bought a handful when I was 15, and then I bought another handful right before I got into crypto. I think I was 19 or 20, and I haven't touched them since.
How did you get into that at 15?
I don't know. I've just always been interested in it. My father has pretty much all my parents' wealth is in stocks and stuff like that. So I don't know. He never really taught it to me, but I was always interested in it because I kind of knew some of that in the back of my mind. I'm like, why not? I don't know. I just felt like it. I mean, that's the sort of person I am. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
But I bought some Apple stock when I was 15.
Yeah, sure. Good shout.
Clearly a good investment. I bought Apple and I think a little bit of Microsoft.
Yeah. Look at you, Warren Buffett over here.
And since then, I think I got some AMD once when they announced that the chips were going into both PS4, PS5, and Xbox, because I think consoles will die eventually, but not yet. So I thought AMD had a good play there. And I think I had some little Sony and a handful of other gaming tech type stocks at that point as well, because I always believed in investing in what you believe in. And games is something I don't know games super well, but it's something I know better than I know other stuff. Let's put it that way. So I guess that brings us to Illuvium, doesn't it?
Yeah. So you were exposed when you were young. And what about you, Daraji? Like, what was your were you exposed from your parents as well? Like, how did that?
Not really. I've been largely making this up as I went, and definitely made mistakes in my 20s and kind of similar to you guys, but just very different categories of where I learned and screwed up and adjusted.
Can you share one of those screw ups?
I would say probably I can't remember anything individually, and it was nothing huge, especially looking back. Like I've always been relatively conservative, but I say spreading yourself too thin is probably the biggest challenge of like, oh, this looks really cool, I'll buy that. This looks really cool, I'll buy that. And especially when it's stuff that you're still learning and you don't necessarily have that 10-year commitment, it's really tough to track it. And especially when you talk crypto, how quickly things change. Like I have a handful of other things, but it's try to keep it to less than 8. And what I'm buying literally is just the 3 because it's so hard to pay attention to that many other projects. And it's the same thing with equities. And it's like, if I'm focused on crypto right now, GameFi space, and trying to find new opportunities here, I don't have time to look at traditional equities markets. And so that's why it is just the DCA into buy the whole market and be confident in 15 years, it'll be higher than where it is today, because that's what I care about.
Yeah, I think I did the same thing. I bought 20 or 30 cryptos when I got in, or over the period of 6 months. I had that many at some point. And that was probably the biggest mistake I made. I don't recommend anyone do that. I think find a few projects you really believe in and a few teams you really believe in, and that's all that matters. So you guys said your 3 that you're focusing on at the moment. The 3 I've decided to focus on. I've lost a lot of money in crypto, so I really don't have that much left. Anyways, it's mostly in ILV.
I shouldn't laugh.
But from now, what I'm trying to focus on is Ethereum is probably going to be not a majority. ILV will probably be a majority just because it'll go up over time. But Ethereum is something I want to invest heavily in overall. And IMX and ILV. They're the three that I'm focused on. Ironically, all three are used in the ecosystem for ILLUVIUM, but that's okay.
Have you started because we talked about it last time, have you put some time into the IMX research?
Not heaps yet, no.
Heaps yet, yeah.
What I did build recently, and I'm hopefully going to get that video out next week. I've been sick this week, so there was a lot of stuff I wanted to do this week. Anyways, is I built my own little DCA calculator. It's just a historical representation going back in history. I used a particular indicator to test if that would make a difference. And the results are really, really interesting. I messed around with it for like an hour with messing around with all my numbers and variables, and ultimately DCAing the same amount every week indefinitely turned out to be the best result.
Yeah, so, I think that's been proven multiple times, right?
There was one slight exception, but you'll have to wait for the video to see that.
My guy, content creator through and through.